It is Monday, July 1st. It is our time to visit with Bill Krueger, Root Sports, all brought to you by Rise Above Foundation. The Rise Above Golf Classic just happened, and we're going to get an update on all the festivities and how that went for old Bill Krueger. We are in the Puck Sports Studios, built by Limbach Lumber. It's the very first day of the Limbach Lumber Studios as we are broadcasting live from inside the Limbach Lumber Studios. Family owned and serving the Northwest since 1930. The Northwest premier supplier of specialized lumber and moldings. Summer is here. You know, that means, Bill, that is deck and fence season. So contact the fine folks at Limbach Lumber, 206-782-3487, or visit them online at limbachlumber.com. The Puck Sports Studios built by Limbach Lumber, and we are with Bill Krueger on Monday, July 1st, episode 190, and we're talking about a little baseball and just a rough series, Bill, it was for the Mariners as they lose 2 out of 3 to the Twins. Kind of what was your overarching takeaway from this series against the Twins?
I think the Twins are pretty good. I think they certainly outplayed the Mariners. The Mariners were lucky to win one game. They basically gift wrapped the first game with mishandled plays at the plate and basically allowed the Mariners to win without scoring. And then the Mariners edged. Just couldn't get anything to go across the home plate. I mean, they just struggle to score, and they're striking out a ton, and their mainstays are not hitting, and even the cameo guys aren't hitting. And Minnesota has a good lineup. I thought the Mariners pitched well, but not well enough. You can't take a team that's one of the hottest in baseball and just absolutely stuff them. That's just not going to happen. So they pitch well enough to win. They're not scoring, and it's starting to create a little bit of like, what is this team going to do with their lineup? Who's going to play and who isn't going to play? I mean, you got guys like Dylan Moore, who one of the top offensive players on the team. He plays like 3 times a week, and you got positions that aren't hitting. So these are real tough decisions for the Mariners to sort through.
You know, there's a stat that's floating around. I'm not sure how active you are on social media on X, or you try to steer clear of it, but
probably not.
There's been a lot of comps, a lot of comparisons to, and I remember this team. I mean, I think you and I probably sat up there in that press box and watched this team play a lot of baseball, and it was a bad baseball team, and that would be the 2001 team, and it was one of the worst offensive teams that maybe the organization's ever had. They hit 233 as a team, right? This year's, and I know it's changed. I know the game has changed. I get that. This year's team is hitting 218.
Right.
I mean, how do you solve this at the deadline? To me, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can't acquire 5 new players. They're going to max. They're going to get 2, probably just 1 type of bat. I mean, can they even solve this at the deadline if they want to, Bill?
They can help themselves. I mean, this isn't a team that they obviously need. We can get right to it. I mean, obviously Julio has to be more of an impact player. Well, that's just front center has to happen. Okay, and then beyond that, you have to start thinking about Jorge Polanco. You have to give that a lot of thought. You have to think about whether or not it's time to fish or cut bait with him, and think about what that position looks like. Is it Bliss? Is Bliss going to get a chance to play regularly? He's shown a lot. Played good defense. He's shown some pretty good offensive ability. You know, maybe you strengthen your team by putting him over there and playing him against left-handed pitching, and maybe you play Rojas against right-handed pitching. You go get yourself a third baseman that can hit. I'm throwing darts at a board here. We got Dylan Moore out there. He can play a lot of places, and he slugs, and he's got more extra base hits than Julio does. They got to play, right? Our cameo players are playing better than our regular players. Luke Raley, Dylan Moore, Ryan Bliss. These players are giving us more than the regular players are. Now, some of that's got to change. You can't fix it all by making trades and doing things like that, but you have to start thinking about who's going to play. At what point do you decide on somebody like Jorge Polanco? Right? You don't have to pay him next year, I don't think. The other players, Haniger, you got to pay him next year. That'd be a little bit a deeper swallow. Garver has shown some moments offensively. He does walk and he does homer, but he hasn't He strikes out a ton, and he's backup catcher now. We don't know what the status of his wrist is. I haven't heard what that's going to look like. They probably won't know anything until tomorrow. But I think, obviously impact bat or two, really important. They got room in the outfield. They got room at third, in my opinion. Those are places to look, but you're just generally looking for a bat, even as a DH, you're looking for a bat.
Yeah. I wonder, and to the point of the cameo players, I mean, if you start playing those guys more, don't you think they get exposed a little bit? That some of the reason they put up these numbers is because they don't play as much, and they're put in these really, beneficial situations and scenarios. I guess my because I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just wondering, because I'm kind of there with Polanco already, but on the flip side of it, Bill, I'm not sure it's Ryan Bliss is the answer. But I guess you could say, well, I guess we don't know until we find out, right?
Well, Ryan Bliss has shown some ability. He's played well defensively. He's got some pop. He plays hard. He can run the bases. I mean, he looks better against left-handed pitching to me. I think his numbers are better against left-handed pitching. But you look at Dylan Moore when he played for a month at shortstop. He put up some numbers. It wasn't a fluke, right? He's playing a role. I get it, but he hit today against right-handed pitching. Hit a triple. He played that whole month for J.P. Crawford. Had a big month. Carried the team. Month of May. Carried the team. Luke Raley is an everyday player. They just put him in the back seat because they wanted Canzone to play and be a star player. And he hasn't quite been able to do it. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. He didn't play against the last two right-handed pitchers. Canzone's got some holes. Canzone's got a lot of zoom, and he's a smart kid, but he's not there yet. But Luke Raley's a regular player, right? He's hit left-handed pitching. He scraps. He plays hard. He plays with his – he does stuff for this team. He should play. He should play. So I don't know. They're musical chairs, a lineup. You feel the grasping a little bit. Don't tell me that's all been calculated in the bunker. Every single one of the lineups is calculated in the bunker. It feels a little bit like, you're rolling dice at the craps table, a little bit on that lineup. To me, they're searching. They're searching for something that's going to happen for them.
How much more time would you give Polanco?
I don't know what they're thinking long range. I don't know what they're thinking. For me, I mean, every time a left-handed pitcher pitches, I'm playing Ryan Bliss. That's a start. Now Polanco knows he's playing against right-handed pitching. He better do something, okay. Right? I mean, that sounds bad. The guy's been a great player. Yes, he has been hurt, but he wasn't doing much before he got hurt. And, you can't live with that. They don't owe him for next year. So they have some room to, if that's a place where they can, and they've got some depth there, whether it's Dylan Moore playing more at second or Ryan Bliss playing more at second, or they find a third baseman, but we're not the market yet. The market's still shuffling. We're not even to the All-Star break yet. So they're going to have to do with what they have. The Twins are very good. Okay. They're very good. They shouldn't have lost 2 out of 3 to Miami. That's not a very good team. They're going to play Baltimore. They're tough. And Toronto is just one of those teams that has a lot of talent but hasn't played very well. And it's a tough week of baseball. The Mariners obviously play close to the vest. And they're a little short in the bullpen this year because they don't have the same studs that they had last year. So they've got some issues. And the other thing I think is you're going to have to ask your starters to do more. And they don't. They draw a line in the sand. It's 90 pitches. It's 87 pitches. It's 92 pitches. And they say, that's it. We're playing the long game. Those kids can all pitch another inning. And I think pitching another inning is a good thing. I think they need to do that. And then you've got a little less coverage, a little less risk that you're taking toward a game that you're still in or you're even in. So I think those guys have to pitch more.
Is the devil's advocate the risk reward of it, though, from their perspective would be if we do that, we run the risk of them burning them out as we carry on to the season. We get late August into September. You think that's what that's their worry, why they wouldn't want to do that?
I guess. I just think they built a system. I played, I don't know if you remember that, Jason, but I played. And I threw 100 pitches a lot.
I do.
I threw 100 pitches a lot in my career, and I don't think I was special. I was good at times. I was solid, but I wasn't special.
They're not the only one. But Yeah.
I know, but then
But
all
they're
of
not the
baseball.
only ones that do this, though. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't have the bullpen. Twins have better bullpen than we do.
Um,
They have more talent.
and then no
It
doubt
showed when
we'll address it.
Alcala and what was that kid's name? His name escapes me. I have it right in front of me here. Jax
the guys that pitched today.
Ocala and Duran. 1, 2, 3. Those guys are good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they
You get another game, we get double-digit strikeouts. Yesterday was.
Yep.
Yeah, yesterday they had 15 strikeouts, and then on Sunday they had 11 strikeouts. And I mean, the strikeouts just continue to be a problem. They've been a problem all year long. They've been a problem for the last 4 years. Minnesota seemed to address it in the offseason where they set a record, or they were right up there with setting of the record a year ago, and then they've kind of wiped that out this year. I don't know what they can do to kind of change that, right, Bill? I mean, it's too late in the season. This is who they are and what they are. But it's painful to watch. I was at the game on Saturday, and that style of baseball, to me, is just terrible. I can't watch it. It is so painful to watch. They don't put the ball in play. They don't move anyone over, and all they do is strike out. That's just all they do, or they hit a home run.
You watch the Twins, and they didn't take and just bomb us all over the ballpark. You saw a lot of balls that were softly hit, a lot of jam shots, and then we go, oh, geez, look at that, barely hit that ball. Look at the exit velocity on that one. Well, you know something? What happens when you get jammed? You stay on balls longer. You give yourself a greater chance to put the ball in play. And you put the ball in play enough, that low exit velocity. I don't even like talking about this, but those balls will fall in. You got a better chance to get a hit than taking the big hack, starting your swing early, like our whole team does. Nobody stays inside the ball. Nobody tries to fight the ball the other way. And the Twins bunted on a couple different occasions. They're better offensively than we are, and they're doing that. So, I mean, I think I guess you could talk it, and if you're not doing it, there's got to be someone that's going to have to step in and do it. I don't know how you handle such a situation. They have some guys that have embedded strikeouts in their game. Cal Raleigh's got some strikeout in his game. He needs to hit down the order for a good team. He's kind of a little bit of all or nothing, but he kind of glues in. He kind of focuses in when guys are in scoring position. Maybe we need to think about that a little bit more as a team. Start the game the same way that you try to finish the game, Mariners. It's at some point, there's got to be a little bit of a conversation around that. Veteran hitters will talk to other hitters about being better with 2 strikes and fighting the ball off. I mean, young players would learn that from veteran players. Who are the veteran players that are talking to the young players? Who are they?
I mean, J.P. Crawford J.P. Crawford and Mitch Haniger would be the two that come to my mind immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coaches can do so much, right? And then it's got to come down to the players, right? At what point does pride come in? At what point does we have to do things to try to win games, to probably a little bit more finer focus, to swing at strikes and have a little bit more of a battle with 2 strikes, and be shorter to the ball with 2 strikes. I mean, these are things that you could try to do. But but I don't know where the message is at. I mean, the message across baseball to baseball in general is slug, walk. We don't care if you strike out. That's how you get paid.
The thing about we go back to leadership though. We go back. I don't personally see a void of leadership with these guys, and I'm not saying that that's what you're implying.
I'm not saying they're not being coached.
I just see a void of talent. I just think it's that simple. It's just an absolute void of talent. I just don't think they have talented offensive players, and it's bared it out this year.
Well,
and this was where they're at right now, where they're struggling at right now offensively. I mean, it's and they can turn it around. Obviously, there's a lot of the season to be left, but this was lost. This was lost in the offseason where they had their chances to try to improve this team. One thing that happened in this game that I just think they've been playing with fire with this. And I really just don't understand, because there's a lot of smart baseball people over there, certainly smarter than me. I mean, obviously. But this dance that they did with having their backup catcher catch and then have Raleigh be the DH in the same game. And they've got away with this handful of times now, but it bit him today. It bit him in a bad way. And Garver gets hit. X-rays were negative, by the way. We'll see what happens, but Raleigh had to come in. He's the DH. You give up the DH now because he's got to go in there and catch. You see Castillo going up there. This is old school baseball, right? He's up there hitting. For the life of me, Bill, I can't figure out why they thought this was ever a good idea to do this.
Risky, trying to load the box with what they think is your best lineup. They're taking chances. Zavala was not a very successful experiment. And they decided to try to, add another player on the bench, make them a little bit more versatile, try to put a little more stock in the lineup, and it ended up biting them. So now they have to determine whether Garver can swing the bat or play as of Friday or Tuesday. Tomorrow's off. Tuesday. They have to determine whether they can play.
Yeah.
Are they going to have to bring up a catcher? Because they can't go. They only have one, so they're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
So that's going to cost somebody on their roster. Yeah. So I think their method of playing. I think they don't expect to be. They expect to be incrementally better offensively and be a lot. And I think they depend on being better at the end of the game than they are. No brash, and actually no Spire, and that guy was an important pitcher for them. And they've lost some juice at the end. Stanek's a little inconsistent. Of course, gave up the home run today. And of course, Munoz is a fragile guy. You got to be careful with him. He's got a back brace on. He's pitching with a back brace. I mean, I give him credit for battling, but they're just short. They're just short where they need to be to play the style that they need to play, right? Particularly when you're saying to yourself, we got all the Haas's, but they're only going to pitch 6 innings. That's it. They're done at 6. We're playing the long game. These guys are going to pitch till they're 45, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what they're shooting for there, but I don't understand. You're at the peak of your peak. You're free flowing. You're throwing the baseball. Our rule. I mean, if you're in a game where you're ahead and it's close and it gets to the point where you think you got a better matchup and you go to the bullpen, that makes sense to me. But when you're even or maybe 1 run behind, the starter always carries. He always carries. He carries the game a little bit further. Unless the situation, and you don't take Gilbert out, and you don't take Kirby out, and you don't take those guys out until the game tells you to take them out. But that's not how they play it. They determine that. They look at the count. They've already made up their mind. They've got their lineup of pitchers they're going to use, and you don't have the equipment. You don't have what Minnesota has at the end. You don't have those guys.
Right.
So you're we got guys that are pitching in those situations are on the shuffle. Colin Snyder threw a couple great games, got shuffled out. Now he's back in there and he's pitching in the ad part of the game. How can that be? That's where we need to go right now to win the game. But he got shuffled out about 2 weeks ago because he was the musical chairs thing and he had to go to AAA. I mean, how does that all make sense to you?
What would you have liked to see them do today? I mean, Castillo left after 5 innings and threw 77 pitches.
They got the problem because he absolutely gave a non-competitive at bat, and maybe they told him not to compete. But he played in the National League a long time. He can't bunt. I didn't play for a decade. I could get up and bunt.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. And
you're not going to try to compete. He's not going to turn around and bunt.
When you're watching that on Sunday, the one thing that I understand that maybe you don't want him to swing. To risk an injury, okay, fine. But he can't stick the bat out there and just push the ball. That to me, I'll be honest with you, I found it a little embarrassing that you just told him to sit up there and put the bat on his shoulder and watch 3 straight balls go right down.
Or did he just decide he wasn't going to do anything?
I don't know. We
don't know.
Who knows if he decided or they told him not to do it.
I mean, I saw Julio in the dugout kind of giving him a hard time. I mean, if it was a message to him, I wouldn't think Julio would be giving him a hard time if he was already told not to swing the bat or do anything. You're not going to try to make him bunt. He played in the National League for a good stretch of time. He's got some at bats. It's not new. I don't know. I mean, that was non-competitive. You got a guy at second, and you got to try to get him over. Try.
Well,
He bunts 3 times, strikes out, big deal.
at least, I mean, just an effort. It's just an effort, and no one's telling you you don't have to run up to first base and Johnny hustled up there like you're Luke Raley. You can jog up there. That's okay. You think they're feeling? I mean, the Astros won on Sunday as well. So coupled with the Mariners' loss, now the lead is down to 3.5. I mean, this has been a blink of an eye, right? Whatever cliche, snap of a finger, Bill, where they once had a double-digit lead, the largest lead of anyone in baseball, and now that largest lead is down to 3.5. Playing better base, they're playing better teams. They're not playing as well. Do you think they are feeling pressure at all? Because they've seen Houston win. They know what Houston's capable of. They know that Houston's won, 6 of the last 8 years they've won this division. Can you get a sense of that? Does that happen, when you start to tighten up here a little bit, knowing that team behind you, following you, chasing you, has been one of the most dominant teams for a decade in baseball?
Yeah, I don't think they think about it. Players think about the next day. They don't think about it. It's for pundits and newspaper people and media people to worry about, fans to worry about. I think if you stepped away from it, they're in a good place. If they can get some of their bullpen healthy, they're in a good place. I mean, you have to be worried about the bullpen and hope that Brian Wu can return. Those are the real concerns at this point. You worry about all you want about offense. I mean, they just need a little more help in the bullpen. They need Brian Wu. And then they play their little game, their little game of attrition. We don't hit, you don't hit. Up, you ran out of pitchers, we win. That's our game. And we strike out 12, and we score 3 runs, and we win. I don't think they're worried about Astros are good. They knew somebody was going to come back in the division. They played very well again in the division so far. They've handled Houston. Mm-hmm. So I think they're in a little bit of a rut offensively. Obviously, players that should be doing better aren't doing as well as they should. I don't think this team goes on a house of fire, but I think they can be incrementally better. We've seen them incrementally better, and that's all they have to be. They just have to be incrementally better. But they need help in the bullpen. They got to be looking all the time. Find the first deal you can make to get a bullpen arm. All you're going to hear is about offense, but what they really need is another guy out there, another good guy out there to play their game. And again, Brian will get healthy. Hopefully he'll be back. He's not as important at the end of the season. He's important now. I think Jonathan Diaz is going to be. I saw him against Chicago. I think he's okay. He pitched a pretty good right-hand lineup. I know your White Sox are terrible. Right-handed lineup, though. Mm-hmm. Pretty good right-hand lineup. Not bad. So they're in a tough stretch. They're playing Baltimore now, and Toronto won't be a pushover. And they'll get back to playing the West. And I think they're going to be okay. I mean, I don't think they're hearing footsteps. I don't think it's. I think the organization is concerned about Brian Wu, all the things I talked about, and then they're concerned about what are we doing lineup wise here? What is not working? We can see what's not working, right? Too many punch outs, nothing from Polanco, nothing from Haniger for the most part. Not to pick on Mitch, but not a lot, right? Garver punching out a ton. Mm-hmm. Julio, what to do there? Long swing. Is he ever going to get the bat head out? We don't know, right? So, I mean, those are little worries, right? They need, and they think, and they're looking. So hopefully they can get another bat in there that makes them a little more professional, a guy in the middle that can drive runs in, and then the other guys pick it up a fuzz, and they'll be okay.
They got 12 games remaining until the break. They got 3 against the Orioles, which will start on Tuesday, 3 against the Blue Jays. Then they'll head out on the road for a couple against the Padres, and then they'll wrap up the first half of the season with 4 in Anaheim. When they get done with the break, they will start a very important series, a 6-game homestand, a 3-game series, which is the second to last series that they will face the Houston Astros. They're at home on July 19th. I'm going to ask you to look ahead. Look into the crystal ball, Bill Krueger, okay? I want to know when they face off Friday, July 19th. Okay? Do they still have the lead in the West? If they do still have the lead in the West, what is it? Or have they relinquished it to the Houston Astros?
Well, I think
How about that?
I think both these teams are somewhat flawed. Not as good as they're not great. It's not the division's not strong. I think they're both going to play close. I mean, I think the Mariners will play a little bit better, and the Astros will play a little bit more even. So I think if they're somewhere in the neighborhood of 2-3 games up, I think they should be happy and that they'd be fine. I mean, I don't think they're going to run away from the Astros. The Astros are healthy and starting to play better, pitch a little bit better, playing a little bit better. So they're going to be they got a good team. So it's not going to be a pushover. They're not going to run away from the division. So Rangers, my gosh, they're fading. They could be a seller the way they're going. So
Okay.
And then you look at the Angels and the the Island of Misfit Toys. So there's some wins to be had there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I just think it's,
you don't feel that
maybe
way.
It's the
you
glass
feel like
half. No, I don't. I just don't. I've too many years of watching this team play. And it's a sickness. I'm a glass half empty. And I do believe, you'll disagree, I believe players feel pressure. And I think they're feeling pressure. I think they see a team that has dominated their division. And I think that they've never done this. They've never led wire to wire and win something.
The only players feel pressure because they're either their job's at stake or they're expected to carry the team. So you think about who's got a job at stake, Julio Polanco. Who do you think is feeling pressure because he's supposed to carry the team? Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He feels pressure.
Yeah.
He sure as heck does. Okay. He's got a smile and he's got energy and he smiles and he's having fun, but man, he's feeling pressure. He's feeling pressure for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But
the rest of the team is dealing with their own individual pressure. They're just dealing with the day-to-day pressure of being a big leaguer. Polanco feels it because he kind of knows the clock is ticking. The sand's slipping through the hourglass with him because you got a kid that's got some zoom and can run, that's sitting there waiting to play, and he ain't getting it done. So, yeah, I think he's feeling it. The rest of them aren't.
No.
Don't think so.
Yeah,
Scott Service in the front office.
They got a much. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got contracts, you got jobs on the line to see how they finish out this season. Before we let you go, give me a recap of the golf tournament that happened on June 24th at Snoqualmie Ridge. How'd it go? Everything good?
It was a vintage day. A little overcast at the beginning, but perfect golf weather. The sun peaked out, or a low 70s, beautiful day. We had a full field of players. People had a great time, and we raised a pretty good amount of money for Rise Above. We're eternally grateful for all the sponsors and people that supported us, people that came out and played, people that donated money. We're somewhere north of $220,000 in funds raised, still counting. So we're very, very pleased and very grateful.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on all of it. It's awesome. You did a great job with doing it, and much success. And let us know in the future how we can help. Bill Krueger, every Monday, brought to you by Rise Above Foundation, NativeYouthRiseAbove.org. There is the website. Bill Krueger, Mondays, inside the Puck Sports Studios, built by Limbach Lumber. All right, my friend, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, thank you.